Hi, everyone. We now have a presentation from one of the leaders in contact center as a solution, Genesis. Sean Jenkins will be joined with Andrew Hume, the CEO of Probe Group, as they discuss crisis-driven innovation, the next wave of technology innovation for the flexible contact center. Please feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A tab on your screen. And yeah, really excited for this one. So over to you guys.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name's Sean Jenkins and I'm the Marketing Director for Genesis in Australia and New Zealand. And I'm really excited to be joined for today's fireside chat by Andrew Hume, CEO of Probe Group, who are Australia's biggest business process outsourcing company. They were described last year by the ABC as the biggest company you've never heard of because Probe run the contact centres for some of Australia's most well-known brands. So there's a high chance that you will have spoken to a Probe agent at some point in your life. And they're a long-time Genesis customer. Probe has been using Genesis Cloud in their contact centres across Australia and the ASEAN region for 5 years now. So I wanted to take this opportunity today to hear from Andrew about some of the challenges the industry has faced over the past year and how Probe has been using human-led technology to overcome these, and also what are some of the most exciting customer experience technology and process innovations that we're seeing emerging from this crisis. So Andrew, welcome and thanks for joining us. And to kick us off, can you just tell us a little bit more about Probe? Who are your customers and what's your customer experience vision?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to come and participate. I'm really delighted to be here. Our vision, we've sort of got two visions. We've got the corporate vision that we put on posters and talk about with internally in our business, and that's simply to be we seek to be the most sought after and respected customer experience service provider in the markets within which we choose to operate. And over and above everything, we're passionately committed to doing it better. And there are some pretty important words in that statement. And I might touch on some of these throughout the discussion, but passion is one of them. Our whole business philosophy is built around high engagement culture, and in the business we call it the passion culture. And passion's a wonderful idea and approach to managing people. Passion, we believe, just ignites free thinking, creativity, and best performance. And I'll talk a bit more about that as we progress. Respect and sought after are equally important in that as a service provider, we must deliver great outcomes for our clients. We've never met one that doesn't want a better performance tomorrow, and we do that by doing it better. And if we can achieve that objective, we become respected and then obviously sought after by others. And so that's the vision. We just want to be the best we possibly can be for our people and our clients. But we've got another sort of vision for our industry and our role in it. And that is that we want to create, and we are on a mission to create, the world's best tech-powered customer experience service provider based right here in Melbourne. An Australian company with global reach, global best capability, global delivery, but locally based, with a fundamental awareness and knowledge of the Australian market, Australian companies and needs, and Australian consumers. And we're pretty progressed on that bringing that vision to life. We've now built a company that employs some 14,000 people across 5 countries with 650-ish million in turnover. So we're now big enough, well capitalised enough, with all of the capability, all of the tools, all of the methodology necessary to deliver best possible outcomes for our clients. And in and around that, there's a critical alignment with the digital world. We've got a sort of an aligned strategy that I call digital enablement. And at the heart of our business, 2 things: passion, culture, and digital enablement. And our simple philosophy there is that we want to hold our clients' hands and walk them into the future as the digital world envelops everything around us, to help our clients navigate the complexity. And that's a big topic and it links right back to the concept around passion, because it's where the people piece kicks in. We want to be a business that the best and the brightest are knocking on the door saying, we want to come and work with you because you're doing just really great, cool stuff. So we want to be a destination employer, and digital helps drive that promise.
Great. And as a tech and people powered organization, I can imagine that really came into play over the last year. I suppose nowhere have we seen technology and people sort of being more important over the past year. At the risk of stating the obvious, obviously a lot has changed. So how did COVID impact Probe and your customers, and what are some of the biggest changes that you made in your business in response to COVID?
Yeah, COVID. Well, it was I was just returning from my summer holidays and thinking about other things, perhaps an acquisition we were working on and continuing to deliver for our clients, and COVID hit, and we had to, it was all consuming for everybody. And we had to bunker down really quickly and work out what we were going to do. Thankfully, in our business, we made a commitment to the cloud years ago. We'd already, a very early adopter of SD-WAN technology. I think possibly, one of the earliest adopters in the Southern Hemisphere, and a very early adopter of Genesis Cloud, as you said at the opening, 5 odd years now. So we're well progressed with that technology and running a business that's cloud based. So we migrated our organisation across, and at that point we were about 8,500 people. That we migrated the organisation literally almost overnight into a work from home footing, and we could do that because of that cloud infrastructure, and Genesis Cloud played a really key role in that. We obviously had to respond to market pressures in the Philippines, and that was chaotic, given government decisions, and then decisions that were then changed in local regions, barangays, and about what you could do, how quickly you had to do it. There were time frames. You had to sort of get your workforce at home by Sunday, that's it, and then that might get extended. You might have to navigate your way through roadblocks and all sorts of things going on. So we sort of became a logistics company overnight, and got kit into people's homes. And in the Philippines, that's challenging because the home environment's somewhat different to here. But we achieved that, and we're really proud of the ingenuity and creativity of our people to achieve that so quickly. And personally, I was really proud of that, and actually equally proud of the fact that we were able to get so many people working from home to get them into a safe environment where they felt safe. And then I said to the business, look, we've done that, and we've done it very quickly. Whatever's happening there is going to happen here. So let's just push 10% of the Australian workforce at home tomorrow as a test, and we did. And then the next day we sat down as a leadership group and said, okay, well, that worked pretty well. How do we? Let's push it up to 50%, and we did that over the next couple of days. And then we just sat and waited to see what was going to happen here, and the government made its announcements a couple of weeks later, and so bang, we just pushed the balance of the workforce into a work from home footing here and replicated over in NZ. And I think because we'd done all of that so quickly, our management team were then available to really turn their attention to helping our clients and other organisations who were trying to cope with what was going on. And we sort of experienced on the demand side rapid fire uplift in activity. We added in that first lockdown phase in sort of the second half of March and early April, 1,000 jobs onshore at home. All new roles that were a combination of things, and we're really proud of that, because we reached out to organisations in distress like airlines and gym companies and others, and opened direct employment channels to create overnight employment for people who'd been displaced from their jobs. So that was a wonderful thing to do. And demand there was really sort of fueled by a couple of factors. One, organisations whose offshore providers couldn't mobilise at home fast enough, and so they had massive issues. So we stood up a lot of work to support that. We do a lot in and around retail and online, and we had what I call channel shift phenomena occur, which in a lot of organisations had single-digit percentage of their volumes in online channels, and overnight they're at 50, 60, 70% because of no retail stores, and it's all happening online. So there was a massive demand surge to support that shift. BCP became a driver for us. I mean, companies started to actually talk about what it meant. You know, the world had sort of learned how to deal with and had BCP plans in place to support typhoons and those sorts of events, but there was nothing had been tested or really contemplated seriously in the context of pandemic. And that then led organisations to start thinking differently about country and country risk. And we started to get involved in a bit of activity about load balancing between countries to manage risk. And then the fourth sort of phenomenon that kicked in was repatriation, sort of nationalistic pride and an opportunity to bring jobs back on shore. And that's happening and continuing. I should equally say offshoring is continuing and accelerating, both two significant demand drivers. But again, you know, really pleasing to have evolved, popped out of all of this as a, you know, very serious Australian employer with nearly 6,000 people in our employ around the country. And we're really proud to, you know, provide security of employment for so many people. So that was sort of the early impact of COVID. I can keep going, or should I pause there? And
huge amount to unpack there, and it sounds like kind of astonishing to think how much actually happened in such a short space of time. I mean, as you kind of mentioned, the sort of almost becoming a logistics company and having to deal with so many elements and issues that I guess just hadn't arisen before, like you said, of, you know, actually getting kit to people and getting them in, being able to work from home. And also really great to hear sort of how ahead of the curve, because of that experience in the Philippines, then how ahead of the curve you were in Australia in actually getting the workforce gradually shifted to home before it was mandated. Because I think for a lot of organisations, Genesis included, you know, we didn't go early. We sort of went as it was obviously became clear that was the need. So great to sort of be ahead of that. We talked about the 1,000, bringing 1,000 new roles on in at the beginning as well, and it's so great to hear about, you know, the fact that you were able to help out some of those people in those displaced industries that were really, you know, suffering. How that sounds like a massive undertaking, as you know, bringing on 1,000 new staff. Yes. Again, sort of how did that go, and not just from a technology perspective and actually getting them up and running on your systems and processes, but also just from more from the people perspective of bringing that many new people into your business, you know, in such a short space of time.
Yeah, we had the benefit of some historical learning. But going back in time, I'd set up a pure play work from home business back in about 2006-07, domestically and in New Zealand. And you know, it had become when I say pure play, it was all, we recruited everybody online, trained them online, performance managed. We never met anybody, and we ended up with about 400 people around Australia and 100 in NZ. So a wonderfully successful model, and although we couldn't scale it back then, there was too much fear in business around data security at home, and technology wasn't what it is today, obviously. But we had some really critical learnings in the memory from that experience. I've always been a passionate believer in the power of working from home. It's got this incredible potential to deliver flexibility to people. But we also learned about the importance of creating a virtual community and how to, and that was the terminology back then, how do you create a virtual community, a world where people can live isolated but connected. And so we've invested very significantly into online training platforms to enable people to come into the organisation. It's easy to provide a bit of kit and host Genesis Cloud into a home. That's sort of easy, but you've got it. There's more to it in terms of context of creating a connected workforce, coaching workforce where people are performance improved, and initial training and onboarding. So we automated and digitized that whole chain of activity. Very, very quickly, and we invested also across the enterprise into work. I always pronounce it incorrectly. Workspaces, Facebook at work, whatever the correct terminology is, and that's been a wonderful platform for us to create connection with our people. We also got creative in and around that, and set up programs like internal television channel where people were having a bit of fun and posting home movies of their workplace and the things that go on at home and what have you. So really trying to bring a bit of fun and connectivity into the environment. So combination of those factors, the training, provisioning, onboarding, but then the social community aspect. So that just made it work as if it was a normal environment. It's going to be really, and this probably might come to something we talk about a bit later on, but it's going to be interesting to watch how the unpicking of that to some degree unfolds as businesses think about returning to work. But maybe that's a bit later in the discussion.
Well, yeah, actually, that was something I was going to just move on to now. Was, obviously we've just talked about all the huge challenges from the last year, the mid-pandemic challenges. And as you just mentioned now, we're sort of moving into this new normal phase. And what do you see as the next wave of I guess, challenges or things that we're going to need to really take into account as we move into this new normal? Obviously, well, the one you just mentioned there of maybe starting to shift people back into the office a bit more, and how do these virtual communities, which sounds fantastic, by the way. I love the whole idea of thinking about your at-home workforce as a virtual community and finding ways to create those connections. And the TV channel sounds great. So yeah, what are some of those next, now we're looking to the future, those next sort of challenges or issues we might see arising, and how do you see technology and people working together to solve those?
Yeah, it's a great question. The first part of the challenge is the logistics piece, and I'll just talk in the context of our business. Every business is different, but we've got all these thousands of people working from home, and a lot of them have got PCs from the office. Obviously, we didn't have thousands of laptops just sitting around in a cupboard that we could suddenly give to people, although we brought a lot of that kit in. But so we've got to actually stage centres back in a meaningful way, and that means machines coming back, being handed to IT, completely re-imaged, cleaned, sterilised, and set to go back, and then given back to go back down to your workstation. And all of that's got to happen across thousands and thousands of people, whilst we continue to meet schedule adherence requirements. So log in at the right time and deliver the work. So there's going to be a massive logistical process around that. We're doing a lot of planning for that at the moment. We're not madly rushing to bring people back yet. And this is where I think it gets really interesting. We run, obviously, given the focus on culture in our organisation, we run have a digital platform for surveying Culture Amp, and a wonderful piece of technology, and do a lot around engagement surveys in the business, but also pulse surveys. And we've just concluded a round of interrogation on attitude to return to work. And we've learned some got some extraordinary data points around where attitude really, if you think back, there was a lot of hype in media that, working from home led to mental health challenges. And this is going to be the next big challenge. We're actually not diluting the significance of mental health, but we're not seeing that as an issue. We're actually seeing our people saying, look, we've got better engagement at home. The tools and the platforms you've built and deployed, I'm feeling really engaged. I've connected to my manager, and I've got the flexibility of working from home. I don't have to get on a train, so I'm saving money, I'm saving time, and I've got flexibility. Now, so some people won't ever want to come back. The flip side of that is some clients say, that's not what we want. We want people back. So, you know, there's sort of the challenge is around managing people through that change, and how that shapes out will be interesting to see. And I think there's also challenges with that in the context of social distancing and work environments being set. So a lot of organisations, I mean, I've never been a believer in hot desking, but I think your workspace is your workspace. But a lot of organisations have set themselves up for that, and it's flawed in a post-COVID world, because who's going to want to share a desk with somebody? So then you've got the challenge of it, you know, for the foreseeable future, you know, 50% of your available workspace to be used. So that presents challenges as well. So it's going to be interesting to watch all of that unfold.
Definitely. Yeah, it sounds like, I think there's going to be probably a whole other host of challenges that we can't even foresee yet, just like we probably couldn't foresee, or we definitely couldn't foresee the things that were going to come when we had to do the shift to work from home. So just shifting.
I was just going to make one other comment there, though, on that topic. The other one is digital migration. People, I was talking before about channel shift, and a lot of organisations have pushed extremely hard to automate and bring bots to the table, and you know, deflect to instant messaging and all these other tools, which we're doing in our business, and have great success through your platform doing that. You know, we've got centres with very high proportion of interactions now through into instant messaging channel, asynchronous messaging, etc. But there's a challenge for business to get that working right, get the conversation pathway management right with those channels, but then also get their organisation cultures set to accept automation. You know, there was this sort of great fanfare a few years ago that everything's going to be automated, and I've never, load of rubbish. I've never believed that. There is an augmentation pathway between technology and a human, and the challenge is getting that right. How do we get the two working collectively and cohesively, and what is the right handoff and return path if necessary? And some things just should and can be automated, some things can't and shouldn't ever be. Some things must remain in a voice channel, can't be put into them. And think about instant messaging, trying to book a international flight, it just doesn't work. So multi, you know, destination bookings and things, so the complexity. So the getting all of that intelligent design right to affect the right outcome is one of the great challenges.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, as you mentioned, I think as we're all customers ourselves, and we all appreciate that at some point there is a need for us to speak to someone, and we don't, you know, we want that avenue still open to us as a consumer or a customer of a business, that we can actually pick up the phone and explain our issue. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. So just shifting gears slightly, it's been quite well documented in the media about Probe's recent acquisition of Stella. And can you tell us just a bit more about what this means? Because it's kind of the teaming up of the two biggest Australian BPOs, and what does that mean for the contact center industry now that you're sort of teamed up together?
Yeah, well, it's important for sustainability of our industry in this country. And if you think about the complexity of the work we now do for organisations, requires very significant capital investment. Sort of the world's shifting from the traditional transactional RF process, you know, and here's a brief execute to it, to how do you help me transform my business, and what are we going to look like in 5 years' time, and how do we build that future business model, and that's why in our business we were investing really significantly into a digital practice, fully very skilled business process re-engineering consultants, Six Sigma skill through user experience design, journey mapping, integration to digital channel design, workforce optimization, which plays a critical role in this sort of world with premise, offshore, onshore, at home, etc., etc., all the way through to automation, opportunity identification, design, build, deploy, manage, and then extending again through to natural language speech recognition and biometric verification. So the complexity of bringing all of that, designing it, building it, and bringing it to bear requires significant capital and effort. And so to be able to do that, we've got to get bigger. We've got to have a big balance sheet and an appetite to support our clients for the long term. And so in an industry that's now globalized, there's this term that's used, mega BPOs, that, there's sort of international consolidation with 100,000, 200,000 agents in some organizations. To compete meaningfully globally, we've got to get bigger. And that was always the thesis behind our roll-up strategy, which we've been executing to. As part of the vision I mentioned at the beginning about creating a scaled Australian service provider. We want to put on the boxing gloves and defend our patch and do so meaningfully, and then take it to them globally. And I think we can, and we are. So it's a wonderful opportunity for this market and this country, for these two great organisations to come together. Together we're better, and we're proving that out at the moment.
Sounds like a really exciting time for both, for Probe and now for Stella as well. And I love that kind of vision of the Australian boxing kangaroo going out to the rest of the world and defending. That
wasn't what I hadn't had that thought. So there you go. That might appear somewhere now. Very good.
So just lastly, we have talked, obviously, we kind of talked through technology and people throughout the discussion, but and you just touched on it actually in what you were saying about creating this digital kind of practice. And but what do you think are some of the most exciting new technologies that you're seeing on the horizon, and some of the things that you are sort of starting to investigate, or actively sort of looking to change your business with?
Yeah, that's another great question, because technology is critical and fundamental. I mean, we look at ourselves and say we're a people company and a tech company. And on the tech side, the evolution is extraordinary. And we're equally a business that is all about speed, fast movement, and creative thinking, and just trialing and testing things to find something that works. We don't believe in incubate, trying to design something, get it perfect, and then deploy it. So we just like to keep trying things, and we've got a lot of those trials underway across the business. Predictive routing is one, and we're really pleased with results we're getting from work we're doing there. We've got some case studies now where we're getting 10-15% efficiency uplifts through using the tech to match on a predictive basis contacts with specific agents based on their performance and skill and ability. So that's something we're watching very closely and looking to push further through the business. This whole front door, we own a subsidiary business that's a global expert in natural language open menu, and that technology has always been the purview really of the big boys, the big banks and the government agencies, just because the sheer cost and to get a business case to stack up. But given the evolution in tech, our ability to democratize that technology now is front and center. This is the ingenuity of people when the times are tough during COVID to solve a problem. We've built a product called Oration that we're hopefully, not too distant future, you'll be able to download it from the Genesis App Foundry, which just inserts into an existing IVR with an open menu, and we can attach to that the biometric verification piece to automate, to call, contact, steer, intelligent routing to deflect into different channels, to provide agents, when an interaction needs to go to an agent, with transcribed information from the open menu conversation to enable them just to pick up the conversation and close it, saving handling time and improving NPS in the process. So those technologies I think are really fundamental, and we're pushing that aggressively across the business. We've done a bit of work also that we're very pleased with around a product that's available through the Genesis Foundry, data games. Gamification is a big thing. We've been running pilots with that and have found some really interesting results. We've uplifted, so we're using that tech to help with knowledge build, so in a fun way. So real time throughout the day, quizzes and competition around the quizzes and the knowledge build, but then equally, wonderful gamed on dashboards throughout the organisation, progress on KPIs throughout the day in competitions, and that's driven uplifts in performance that are really of great interest to us. So that's a big piece that'll keep going. The other one that we're trying to get moving, that we're actually fundamentally excited about, is Alto Cloud, which is a company you bought, that enables that we do so much in the retail sector, and managing the user experience to checkout and closure is a critical. It's often a great failure point at checkout. So with that technology, and we piloted this tech to sort of see the impacts, but and trying to aggressively push it further, but to monitor real time the movement of a customer through the website, so that we can change dynamically our treatment strategies. So and another one. Gee, it's a long list, isn't it? Another one is, the evolution around sentiment analysis, and the real-time assessment of sentiment, and not just in traditional voice channels, but now through to digital channel. And we're doing some piloting on that at the moment in the organisation on both, and getting some interesting outcomes there. So yeah, there's a lot to get excited about. And notwithstanding that, all of the capabilities that we're rolling through around voice, virtual agents online, and RPA, all sorts of bots here, there, and everywhere to remove noisy traffic that just should be automated. It's a wonderful time to be doing in the industry. There's just so much potential with it all.
Definitely, as you said, there is a lot to be excited about, and I'm really glad you could join us today to talk about this, because I think in terms of organisations in Australia who are really, as you said, you're not trying to get things perfect. You're trying so many different things at one time, and seeing what works and building on it, reiterating. And so I think it's great to chat with you, because I think you're probably one of the organisations in Australia that's really doing so many of these. But yeah, great to hear about them. And I think that's pretty much as much as we got time to talk about today. But I think there is an option for, if anyone has any more questions for Andrew, that there is an option to put them in the questions window or the chat window that you might see. So so please do put them in, and we will, I think the IQPC will make sure they get through to Andrew, and can obviously continue that conversation afterwards. So thanks very much, Andrew. Great to talk to you today, and thanks everyone for joining and listening in.
Thank you, my pleasure. It was wonderful to chat, and look forward to perhaps next time doing it face to face.
Hopefully.
Thank you. Yeah, hopefully.
Thanks.
Thank you.